What's good, BookTube? Thanks for hanging out with me again today. My name is Theo, Rekindled Reader, and today, guys, I wanted to give you my list of top 10 slump busting books. These are books that are going to make you feel motivated, help you break through that wall when you're not quite feeling engaged or interested, losing momentum with your books. Maybe you're stuck in the same genre for too long. For some reason, you, like many people, have hit a wall and you need something short, usually snappy, fun, engaging to get you out of that slump. This is a list for you. Part of the criteria for a slump buster of a book, in my opinion, is something that is in a slightly different genre than what you're used to or what you've been reading for the most part when you hit that wall. If you've been reading a ton of fantasy, maybe you want to shift to a horror or a thriller. So on that note, all of these books are going to be in different genres, from fantasy, sci-fi, thriller, horror. We even have a nonfiction that I really love that I want to share with you. All these books are going to be on the shorter side, relatively, particularly for fantasy fans. Everything is under 500 pages, with a lot of them being in the 300 to 400 pages. We even have some novellas about 150 pages. So this is a great list for everybody. I've also gone ahead and ordered them from shortest to longest. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the list. The first one is one that I think about often. This is Ogres by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It is about, depending on the version that you have, about 160 pages. This is a dystopian novel where literal ogres rule the world, and it blends fantasy with sharp social commentary in a pretty satisfying way. What makes this one a slump buster? Well, it has a unique, fresh, and imaginative concept with social commentary, like I said, but it's also fun and really thought-provoking. It is also novella length, so it's short and sweet. Its brevity means that you get a full, satisfying story really fast, which is important when you're in a slump. And Tchaikovsky is really good at world building without info dumping. His writing is also excellent. The ending of this novella will absolutely stay with you. It was a brilliant twist, and it's one that I think about an awful lot. The next one is kind of novella length as well, by one of my favorite authors, Stephen King. This one is The Mist, and it comes in at about 175 pages. This one is about a small town where a bunch of people get trapped inside of a supermarket where a mist rolls in and traps everybody, and it hides these like unspeakable horrors. Why is this one a slump buster? This one is classic Stephen King suspense. You cannot put this book down. It's riveting. It feels like an intense classic horror movie. It's a super short, immersive horror novella that is packed with suspense. And of course, because it's a novella, it's short and sweet as well. You can read this in like 1 or 2 sittings if you wanted to. Number 3 on the list is another one of my, I would say, favorite contemporary authors. That is Blake Crouch. And my recommendation for this one is about 320 pages, something like that. It is the first book in the Wayward Pines trilogy. I think it's called Pines. This one is about a Secret Service agent that wakes up without very much memory in this strange, idyllic town that seems very contained, and it's full of dark secrets. Let's put it that way. Nothing is as it seems in this town. Why is this one a slump buster? Because this one is a gripping mystery with a creepy Twin Peaks-esque atmosphere and vibe. This one is short, fast-paced, briskly moving, really suspenseful, short, snappy chapters, really punchy, and it's very bingeable. I was hooked in this one from start to finish, and if you enjoy it, there's 2 other books that make a complete trilogy. I believe if you try the first one, you won't be able to put it down. You'll want to read the other 2. The other 2 are also kind of short, so this trilogy altogether is actually a fairly reasonable length for a story. The next one on this list is a nonfiction book, and it was one of my favorite books I read over the last year or 2. I can't remember exactly when I read it. About 350 pages. This is The Wager by David Grann. This is a nonfiction thriller about a true story 18th century shipwreck, and it's all about mutiny and survival against the odds. This book reads kind of like a gripping thriller novel, even though it's a true nonfiction story, and it weaves the narrative together using real life accounts and like journal entries and diary, entries, some books that were written by some of the people. Super compelling narrative, and the writing is brilliant. It is historical intrigue and real life drama. It is so well done. It's full of survival and betrayal, and it has a lot of historical detail. This is an excellent nonfiction book for people that don't even really like nautical books. I mean, it's about a shipwreck, but it's about so much more than that. It is a true story, it's riveting, and I highly recommend this this one. Number 5 is a repeat author on this list. It is about 370 pages, and this one is also Blake Crouch, and this is Dark Matter. This is a mind-bending thriller where a physicist gets thrown into an alternate reality where he struggles and fights to get his real life back. This book, like many of Blake Crouch's books, has short, snappy, fast-paced chapters, and this particular book has a lot of suspense and mind-bending twists. It is very fast-paced, and it is a very quick-moving narrative, but it is also sci-fi for people that don't necessarily like sci-fi. It's super accessible, easy to read, and you could binge this in a day or two. The next book on this list is number 6 and a recent favorite of mine. This one is about 415 pages. This is by Pierce Brown and it is book 1 in his first trilogy, Red Rising. This is a sci-fi dystopian novel following Darrow, who's a low-born Red who infiltrates the ruling gold class to overthrow an oppressive system and spark a revolution. Why is this one a slump buster? This one has high stakes, action-packed storytelling with really intricate world building. Some people say that it's a mix of Hunger Games and Game of Thrones. Not necessarily sure about the Game of Thrones part, but Hunger Games is definitely reminiscent. It's a thrilling blend of dystopian drama and really fast-paced adventure. The first book in the series is shorter than some of the other ones. They get longer and longer as they progress, but they still deliver an emotional punch. And the first contained trilogy, which in and of itself is fairly short relative to other fantasy series, is one of my favorites of all time. I highly recommend this series. Number 7 on this list is basically any Harry Bosch book by Michael Connelly. I've read, I think, 4 of them at this point. Very consistent, really compelling. It's a great series, and the first one is called The Black Echo, and that is about 420 pages. Harry Bosch is basically a no bullshit LAPD detective that solves gritty and complex murder cases and balances justice with his own personal demons. These are engaging procedural mysteries with addictive, clear, no-nonsense narratives. Michael Connelly's writing is really consistent. It's straightforward, to the point, easy to get lost in, and perfect for this kind of genre. For a slump buster of a book, any Bosch book works, but The Black Echo, like I said, would be the starting point for this series. These are perfect when you want to dive into a thrilling, compelling sort of detective story without excessive length. Number 8 on this list is one that's been blowing up all over BookTube. I read the first book probably a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer, and I've been wanting to get back to these. The audiobooks are fantastic. This is about 460 pages for the first book, depending on the version that you have. And this is by Matt Dinniman, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. In this first book of the series, Earth is turned into a giant, deadly game show dungeon, and Carl, along with his talking cat, who's hilarious, has to navigate and survive in this surreal sort of challenge. It's basically an action-packed lit RPG with a lot of humor and a lot of heart. If you like video games, D&D, or other role-playing games, this will be right up your alley. This really is the kind of book that makes reading fun. It blends humor and heart. It is action-packed. This lit RPG twist is just, it makes for a really fun adventure. The series gets a little bit more complex, grander in scope, and the books maybe even get a little bit longer, but this first book at least is short enough in length to be something you can pick up and just have a lot of fun. Next is book number 9, and one that I read recently with my wife, and I absolutely loved it. It's a movie a lot of you may have seen. This book is written by Dennis Lehane. It's about 500 pages, and it's called Mystic River. This one is a haunting psychological thriller, mystery, crime novel. It covers a lot about childhood friends who come into each other's lives again later on in life, and their lives are basically shattered because of this murder mystery. This is an intense, character-driven drama at its core that delivers emotional punches with a gripping mystery. It's dark at times, but utterly absorbing. And Lehane's writing is immersive without being overly complicated. It suits this genre perfect. It's immersive, compelling. The writing is fantastic, and I had a blast with this book. Number 10 on this list is also about 500 pages, and another recommendation for an excellent audiobook should you choose to go that route. This one is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. In this one, a scientist wakes up alone in space without memory and realizes that he needs to save Earth from a catastrophe. This is a masterful mix of science, humor, heart, with relentless suspense that is very readable. If you like The Martian, obviously this one you're gonna probably enjoy, with even more surprises. It's a book that kind of makes you feel smart while you're having fun. It is definitely sci-fi. It digs into the science of stuff, but doesn't make it unnecessarily complicated, and it doesn't doesn't detract from the narrative overall. And while it's on the longer side of this list, it's fast paced and problem solving, keeps you turning the page, and it has very good pacing. Really, really fun read. The ending I thought was very well done as well. That is my list of 10 recommendations for books in all different genres, all different lengths. If you need something to help you break out of a slump, I would highly suggest you pick up one of these. If you have your own list, or if you've read some of these, or if you have other recommendations that people can maybe use to help them get some momentum back in their reading, put them in the comments. I'd appreciate that. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have ideas for other videos. I'm always open to that. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys in the comments. I appreciate all the support. I'll catch you real soon on the next video.